Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today I have a curriculum overview to share with you. This is the Waldorf Essentials Grade 1 curriculum. Now I'd like to say that I have not used this curriculum, but I have reviewed it so I can give you my best and most honest opinion. Linda over at Everything with Heart lent me this curriculum so that I could review it for you, so be sure to go check out her channel and tell her how much you appreciate her letting me borrow her curriculum so I could do this. Now, also as a special bonus, I also have the Live Education Grade 1 curriculum, and I want to just show you a couple of the differences between the two a little bit later on in the video. So the first thing is that this is the size of the curriculum for all of Grade 1, but it's not all you get. Now, since I haven't purchased any of the other materials to go along with this curriculum, I can't say for certain, but there are other things that you get when you are purchasing either the lifetime membership or mentoring with the author Melissa Nielsen. And I know that a DVD also comes along with this curriculum. Now you can get this as a digital version, or you can also get the print version. And if you get a lifetime membership, if I'm not mistaken, you can also then get the printed version at a really deep discount. So it depends on whether you don't mind the digital version or if you're the kind of person that really needs the paper copy. And I'm a paper person, so I would definitely take advantage of getting them printed. So I want to go over the table of contents and a little bit about what you get in this curriculum. And the first thing I want to show you is that several chapters are dedicated to information that will help you understand the Waldorf philosophy as well as understand how to use this curriculum. Now, it's written by Melissa and Eric Nielsen, and you're going to hear a lot of Melissa's personal experiences throughout the beginning pages of this curriculum. And I know that it has been revised, and so you're also going to get her new outlook on the information as well as new experiences and those kinds of things. So that's something that I feel is an added benefit when you are going through a curriculum, to actually have it be by somebody who went through the curriculum, has experienced it, and can give you firsthand knowledge of how it worked for their family, and then come back to you after several years and say, here are the things that still work, and here's some of the challenges that we met, and here's some of the changes that we made, depending on each child that you have, because each child is different, and some things might work really well for one child, and then they just don't work for the next child. So in the table of contents, you'll notice that Chapter 1 is about parent care. And I really love that this comes first, because you do need to be mindful of taking care of what you need for yourself before you can give to others. So several pages are dedicated to parent care. Then you go into ages and stages. And this gives you a nice overview of the Waldorf philosophy on the development of a child through Rudolf Steiner's teachings and lectures. Then you come into the temperaments and their role with children and ourselves. Now, temperaments are different than other personality traits. It has its own construct, and it's a value to go through and understand them better. Next, you have Chapter 4, which is setting the mood, and this is a fantastic overlook at how you can create an environment that's going to be pleasing for you and your children. And I love that, because as a homeschooling parent myself, I want to be in a space that I'm going to enjoy, that my children are going to enjoy, and that I'm going to like being in, since I'm going to be homeschooling for a big part of the day and also a big part of their life. Chapter 5 is on the basics of Waldorf, and this is going to be really great in understanding some of the principles in the Waldorf education. And I want to diverge here for a moment and talk about something that I view, or my understanding rather, about the Waldorf education. I kind of break it down into two different pieces. You have the Waldorf methodology and how you actually teach the lessons, and then you have the content. And the content is very specific for each age group and each grade, depending on your child's development. So you may like the methodology and want to do a main lesson book and do the 3-day learning rhythm, and keep in mind the head, heart, and hands approach, but you're going to do completely different content than what the Waldorf curriculum suggests. Or you may really like the content and do the content at each different grade, but you choose a completely different methodology. And then you have this beautiful merging of the two where you've got the methodology and the content coming together. Now, as a homeschooler, we are given great flexibility in how we want to implement the curriculum. And so this is going to give you a good overview of, I guess, in some ways, the ideal way to do things or the ideal approach, and then you personalize it, which becomes an ideal for you. So it's going to go over the Waldorf Essentials, the rhythm, the festivals, and the nature table. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Part 2, so we have part 1 is the feeling part. I like the way that she divided up this way. Part 2 is the thinking. So you have grade 1 overview, and this is going to be really essential for you if you are new to the Waldorf philosophy, because grade 1 tends to start at around 7 years old, and this is going to be a later start for first grade than most typical traditional schools. And so understanding whether your child is ready for first grade is really important, because it's not a matter of does your child know XYZ, it's really a matter of is your child developmentally ready for first grade. Then it's going to go through some of the things that are kind of, I guess, quintessential to a first grade classroom or homeschool room. And that's the circle time and form drawing and handwork, painting, language arts, math, and social studies and science. Chapter 7, grade 1, lesson blocks. So the way that a Waldorf curriculum teaches the different lessons is through main lesson blocks, which is different, I think, than most other approaches. And so for a period of time, maybe anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, you're concentrating on one subject area, and that's the bulk of your school day. You still will have your opening or warm-up activities. You'll still have your language art, or rather your foreign language and eurythmy and other movement activities in the afternoon, like maybe your handwork or your physical exercise. But the bulk of your school day in the morning is going to be dedicated to your main lesson block. Now, this can take an hour in the younger years. It can take up to 2 or 3 hours in the older years, but it is the bulk of your school day. And this kind of takes a shift. It requires a shift in thinking and how you're going to approach your school day when all of a sudden you're not doing all the subjects every day equally. You are hitting quite a few subjects, however, when you are doing a main lesson block and when you do add your morning activities and warm-up activities to your main lesson block, you are actually hitting quite a few subjects, but it's very different. There's quite a concentration on your main lesson block. Part 3 is willing. So you've got your handwork, and your crafting, which I do especially love. And then you have your appendix in the back. So I'm going to take you through and show you a little bit of what you get for this curriculum for the beginning part. And then you can see that there is the whole curriculum in the back here, which is going to be what you're going to use on a daily basis in order to teach your child. Okay, you have Chapter 1 on parent care, Chapter 2, ages and stages. Now, this is going to be especially helpful if you're really new to the Waldorf philosophy and the way that the different developmental stages are broken down. Now, this is not unique, especially to the Waldorf philosophy. However, the content that is provided for each grade level, depending on their developmental stage, is unique according to the Waldorf philosophy. What you're going to see is that these developmental stages are observed by child psychologists. So you've got like these different shifts in development that occur that are recognizable. And what I absolutely love about the Waldorf curriculum is that the content matches what's going on with the child, rather than you as an educator having this long list of things that you want to do and your end goal, and then you just go backwards and just kind of drive yourself towards that goal. Here it's saying what's going on with the child when your child is 7 or 9 or 13. What's going on emotionally and physically and mentally and spiritually. And let's add a curriculum that balances that and feeds whatever is going on and really nurtures what's going on. So that's what I really love about the Waldorf curriculum. The temperaments are, that's great to learn about because it's really going to help you understand what drives you and your child. Now, one note on this is that it is really hard to figure them out before your child is about 7. So if you're thinking to do this with your 2-year-old or 5-year-old or even your 7-year-old, I would say give it a little bit of time. You may see some things emerge that are really very specific for a particular temperament, but also know that your child is going through different phases. And so whereas your child may end up being a choleric adult, as a child during the first 7 years, he's in his sanguine phase, for instance. So that's going to kind of balance out the other part of his temperament. And then you might get confused as to what he is. And the ultimate goal is that we are a nice balance between all 4 temperaments. Chapter 4 is setting the mood. Sorry, I had this little note here. This again is, I love, create a space that's going to reflect the curriculum that you're doing and also be a place of pleasure for you and your children to be in. Let's move on to chapter 5, and that's the basics of Waldorf. Again, this is going to be so important if you are new to the philosophy, and even if you're not, this is going to be great because it's going to be grade specific. You're going to find information here that's really specific for the grade that you are doing for the year. So this is first grade. Let's move on to chapter 6. Grade overview. Is your child ready for first grade? Again, there are certain markers that will help you understand whether your child is ready for first grade. And I'd never seen this list before, and I think it's a fantastic list to go through and see, is your child physically and developmentally ready for a first grade curriculum? Because it's not a race to get to the finish line. It doesn't matter that your child maybe already knows how to read and you're thinking, well, let's put that child in second grade. It doesn't really work that way because there are things that nurture the child in a first grade curriculum that are not academic. They're spiritual, they're artistic, they are mental in a different way than just knowing how to read. That's a very specific skill, but there's so much that goes into that maybe we skip over in order to get to that skill, that the curriculum is now going to come in and backfill. Suppose, like that's if your child already knows how to read or do math. Don't just skip over the first grade curriculum because your child knows how to do those skills. If your child is 6.5, 7.5, try the first grade curriculum. And here's another thing that I've noticed with children who are older, who didn't do the things in kindergarten or first or second grade. They will still enjoy doing them when they are 10 and 11 or 9. They'll still enjoy doing those things that the younger children are doing. So again, a benefit of homeschooling, when you've got that wide age range, the older kids can still participate in the things that the younger kids did, and vice versa. The younger kids are getting a preview of what's going to follow. Okay, so let's move on to chapter 7. And let's see if I can find it. Okay, grade 1 lesson schedule. This is going to be really helpful if you are unsure how to schedule the year, or if you don't know how the festivals work in. And let me come back now to this point about the festivals, especially for first grade and for kindergarten, and really for all of the Waldorf education years, but especially in the younger years. Celebrations and festivals are really integral to the curriculum and to the education. This year at the glance is going to go through the different festivals throughout the year that the curriculum has either made time for in order for those festivals and celebrations to be, so you can take some time to celebrate them or do crafts with them or stories or whatever else you need to do with those celebrations. And then also, if you choose not to do those, then you can skip that part of the curriculum, or you can add more of the lessons that were previously done, or you can do something entirely different. Then you've got your months at a glance, and this is really great because it's going to just kind of tell you, here's an overview of week 1. Now you're going to get more content later on, but it's really great just to kind of get an idea of what's going on in week 1 and what's going on in week 2. That way you can kind of get a good idea of your whole entire year without having to go through and do all the detailed lesson plans. All right, so Wise Sophia is an original story by Melissa Nielsen, but she also includes a lot of the Grimm's fairy tales into the lessons. And what's great about having these fairy tales already included in the curriculum is that they are pre-selected. So if you've never read Grimm's fairy tales, some of them are really grim, actually, and a little grotesque. And that can be a little difficult for kids, or really it can be difficult for an adult who doesn't want to read it to a child. So that's something that you might want to preview before you read them, but being that they've already been pre-selected for the curriculum, it's just a lot easier to go through them, and it's all just in one space rather than having multiple books. The form drawings are included with the first stories as well as the letters. And so this is a really different approach. If you're not used to doing a Waldorf curriculum, you're getting a mixture of different subject areas within your main lesson block. However, the main lesson block still has a focus, and this is for the letters. So the lessons are within this part of the curriculum. You'll have like lesson 7, for instance, lesson 8, and then you can see with lesson 8 there's more content than lesson 7. And so I noticed that that is something typical that you're going to find throughout the curriculum, where you're going to have some lessons that are really short and more like review lessons. And remember, this lesson is for that's the whole day. There are opening activities that you can do, like mental math, which is definitely significant as your child gets older, and then there's handwork in the afternoon and foreign language. But if you look here, this is a really small lesson, but then it's followed by what I feel is a much larger lesson with a pretty substantial story. By the way, there are tips on the storytelling earlier on in the introduction so that you can get familiar with this type of teaching method. So it's not so much that you're going to be reading out of this curriculum. This is a resource guide for you as a parent and as a teacher. So you're going to read the information first and then deliver the material as a story from you. You won't be reading it. And then you can see that here you have a couple other smaller lessons before you get to another large lesson. So it's going to go in the different blocks naturally throughout this curriculum, because it's starting out with what you can consider your language arts block, which is your letters, and then it's going to go into a block on numbers, and then it's going to come back to letters. Actually, this was still on letters, but it's going to depart for a moment on letters. It's going to go to numbers, then it's going to come back to letters, and it's going to kind of go back and forth so that the information never really gets stale. It's always something kind of exciting that the child can look forward to. Okay, so I want to take you a little bit further into the curriculum. You can see that there are some more forms for the form drawing. You can see them here again. And then there's a little bit of artwork throughout the curriculum, but not a lot. So you're going to have to come up with your own artwork for the lessons. And in first grade, this is especially important because each lesson is going to have some artwork, especially with the letters of the alphabet. Now, the artwork does change as the students get older. And whereas you're going to have really simple daily drawings when the kids are young, they get more intricate and less often when the kids are a little bit older. When you're setting up, for instance, an experiment in, like, say, 7th grade, you may have one chalk drawing that stays up for a couple of days to demonstrate the experiment, and then there could be multiple lessons for that one bit of artwork and probably more writing, whereas in the younger years, especially with first grade, there isn't any writing, or it's very limited. And the writing is at the very beginning, it's just the form drawing and then the letters of the alphabet. Okay, so I want to take you towards the back here, where you can see, here's a little bit more with the math. And this is something actually unique about the Waldorf curriculum, is that they teach all 4 functions, 4 operations in first grade. So you're learning division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction all at once. So this can be really different if you're not used to teaching it that way. And something else with the Waldorf curriculum, it's never a single path to an answer. It's usually one answer that has multiple paths to it. And I know this seems like a really small change, but actually it has significance in a greater sense. So instead of saying 4 times 3 equals 12, you can say 12 equals 4 times 3, but 12 also equals 6 times 2, and 12 happens to be 10 plus 2, and 12 is 14 minus 2, and it goes on and on and on because there are infinite ways to get to the number 12, whereas when you're saying 3 times 4, there's really only one way to get to it. So you may interpret that as you wish. At the very end of the book, there are handwork patterns, and this is really great if you are new to this kind of handwork and crafts because it is a big part of the curriculum, and there are certain crafts that work with each grade and with each development, and learning more about that is really interesting. But you're going to be doing a lot of knitting in grade 1, and the action of knitting is actually really good for brain development because you're doing the cross-body action, and that really helps with brain development. So there's significance for all the handwork that is given at the different grade levels. Okay, so I want to show you really quickly what you get with grade 1 for live education. So you can see that you're getting quite a bit more, but this is all you're getting. For this, I know that depending on the program you get, you also get different media options like DVDs or online videos, as well as mentorship, or you can get consultation time. When you get the live education curriculum, you do get some consultation time as well, but the live education curriculum is set up with different main lesson books, and they're actually not all main lesson books. World of Numbers is going to be your math book, and you can choose to do this main lesson block wherever you want in the school year. So you can change this curriculum around too. It just so happens that the letters are the first main lesson block. No matter what order you choose for your main lesson blocks, it does recommend that you start with form drawing, and this curriculum comes with a book dedicated to form drawing and gives some examples of some stories that you can use in order to do the form drawings. And this book also comes with a lot of information, not just with each of the main lesson books, but it also comes with a book dedicated to just general information for the first year. And this is going to be so important. It goes through a lot of information that you're going to find here as well. Things about the Waldorf philosophy, how to set up your day, nature table, the rhythms of the day and the rhythms of the year, the festivals, the celebrations, all of that is in here as well. This curriculum comes with its own fairy tales, and this again is really nice that these fairy tales have been pre-selected so that you're a little bit more at ease when you are reviewing them before you present them, and you don't have to go through the Grimm's fairy tale book, which has probably like 200 or more fairy tales. These ones are pre-selected for you, which is fantastic. And of course, you can always complement this curriculum with fairy tales from whatever culture you wish to present. Beginning recorder and drama and poetry. This is going to go through some great information on the recorder, which is the first instrument that the child will learn how to play. And this is for first grade. And they will go through different instruments. I believe string instruments are introduced in the 4th grade. And there's also a reason behind that, which I think is really great, that it's not just any instrument anytime, but you're going through all of them at specific ages. You get from imagination to form the letters A to Z, and you get from moving and speaking to writing and reading. So these two books are going to go together. These are going to be all the letters of the alphabet. It's going to have stories and poems, and it's going to have amazing artwork. This is really going to be fantastic. Now, I used a lot of this artwork originally when we started homeschooling many years ago, and then eventually I just came up with my own artwork. It's really beautiful. It's very inspiring. The only thing that I would say is that it's not supposed to be this detailed when you're teaching a first grader. So you're supposed to use these as inspiration and modify them so that they're very simple for a first grader. They shouldn't be having this much detail. This is for you as a parent to have this as a resource. So again, all of these books are to be resources for you as a parent, this is not a child-led curriculum. This is very much a parent or a teacher-led curriculum where you need to be present to deliver the lessons. You're not handing over these books to your children. There are no workbooks. This is not independent work that your child is going to do. And then this is also going to have the letters of the alphabet and how to present them and the different, like the 2 or 3 day learning cycle, which is also introduced in here as well, which I feel is something pretty unique to the Waldorf curriculum. There are no tests, there are no quizzes, there's no homework, there are no worksheets, there's no fill in the blank. So how do you know if your child is learning anything? Well, trust me, your child is learning something, but also the 3 day learning cycle really ensures that that information is coming into the child. It's resting with the child. Your child is sleeping on it literally, coming the next day, and that information is being revived again and then readdressed in a new way. And then your child is sleeping again. And that process actually really solidifies the information. So I think we went through all of the lessons on art. So this is something that is definitely unique about this curriculum that you're not going to find in here, and that is all these really beautiful color paintings and drawings. And this is going to help you, since art is so important in the first grade and actually all the years for the Waldorf school and education. Having some pointers on how to do the art is going to be really helpful. Now, art in the Waldorf philosophy is a little bit different in how you create it. So instead of starting with an outline the way most of us would draw, with the Waldorf philosophy, you're starting at the core and shaping as you go. So again, whereas 3 times 4 equals 12 and there's only one answer, when you outline a drawing, there's only one picture that it could be. But again, when you're saying 12 is 3 times 4, but it's also 6 times 2, when you begin with the core of a drawing, it could take shape to be a number of things. And again, that openness is really important for the Waldorf curriculum and the Waldorf philosophy. So this is going to be so important for you if you are unsure about your art or you don't know how to draw. This is going to come in really handy, and it's just going to go through a lot of the different principles of art and using watercolors and using crayons for the first grade curriculum. Now, it's possible, because I don't know for sure, that information is actually online for the Waldorf Essentials curriculum. If you happen to use this curriculum and you know that, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Having not used this, I am doing my best to review it for you, since I do get a lot of questions about the different Waldorf curricula that are out there. Having said that, I have used the live education curriculum for a number of years, and while I am familiar with the other curricula that are out there, I have not used any other one other than creating my own lesson plans and my own unit studies. Okay, so I hope that this review was helpful for you. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them down below in the comment section. And I'm also linking a couple of videos here for you in case you're interested in seeing any of my other reviews for curriculum. I'm leaving a couple of things from Live Education as well as Oak Meadow in case you want to see how those compare.